Well, greetings, everybody. This is Apostle Dr.Vercher, and in light of some things that have truly taken place, we need to understand acquaintance rape. What is acquaintance rape? Acquaintance rape is any non-consensual sexual activity between two or more people who know each other. And acquaintance rape can happen between friends and spouses and girlfriends and or boyfriends and people who we just meet and who we just met. And the facts herein are on college campuses, and 60% of all of those rape victims know their assailants and or have had some type of contact with them, whether it be in person, whether it be Skype or telephone calls, Uvu, and some of these other social media and or devices that are being used. And 1 in 4 women are victims of rape. 92% of the adolescent rape victims know their assailants, and about 84% of those women, they knew their assailants. And 57% of those rapes happened on a date. So when we meet people, we have to understand that some people, that their motives are not the same as yours, and their agendas are not the same as yours. And in the process of moving through and trying to help someone with what it is that they need to overcome, you yourself may become a victim. I became a victim of trying to help someone, and this is in the church, and so I thought, but and in all honesty, trying to really help someone deal with some things that they had, but had they have done their program, they would be better. Their families would be aware of what it is that is going on in their life to help them. But in turn, a reprobate mind uses that in a way to retaliate, in a way to seduce. And we have so many things through devices and through social media. Women will sign up with things and thinking that they're helping, but in essence, they have been pawns in prostitution rings, online sex, and innocent people will become victims. I was told, in all due honesty, that Archbishop, I knew it was you, but it wasn't your face. It was your information. My information on a website that solicits sex. Yeah, it's your information, but it wasn't your picture. So these are the things that have been going on, and these women have subsequently come to me. So I just want you to understand that in this, understanding that male characteristics and behaviors are disrespectful speech or actions, and socially inappropriate behavior, and domineering and controlling behavior, and acting dishonesty or inconsistently, alcohol abuse. They believe in rape myths and irresponsibility and hostility toward women. In a female, you'll find a sense of vulnerability, overlooking discomfort, overlooking warning signs, idolizing men, and alcohol abuse. Situational characteristics will be an isolated or unfamiliar environment, women that are dependent on men for transportation. And the man initiates and or pays in alcohol and or other drug abuse. So we need to be mindful. You've got to trust your gut. In this instance, I prayed and it came to me spiritually to help someone. And then God had me pull back and sit back and watch. And in that instance, I was able to identify what the issues were. And I had to identify with any issues I may have had before I confronted the issue and made the disconnect. If you don't feel comfortable in that situation, leave it. Take care of yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation where other people might have to take care of you, and because they might not be there. Be careful when inviting someone into your home, or going to someone's home, or dealing with someone that is online, inviting them into your home via internet, inviting them into your space in the most vulnerable areas of your life, because then they become familiar, you become familiar, and that spirit begins to bind your personality. It will bind your mind, it will bind your spirit, and it will draw you into one likened unto them. So it's guilt by association. Communicate. You've got to communicate, but understanding that these are places in where the most acquaintance rapes occur. And communicate. You've got to communicate. You look at that big stop sign that says being safe with acquaintances. Does not mean that you have to deal with that familiar spirit. And don't hide behind God, because when you hide behind God is when it's going to happen, and when all these situations are going to begin to cause you stress. They're going to cause you grief, because now you're hiding behind God. And what do I do? Is the church going to help me? Or that person is a bishop, or that person is somebody, that person is someone that that I identify with. Why I can't, because that, I don't want to upset the saints. Well, you better disrupt the saints, and you better tell somebody. You better tell somebody what's going on, because if you don't, it's going to continue to hurt you in the long run. It's going to continue to fester, and you're going to be isolated. You now become a prisoner in your own home. And most abusers that you do know will keep you trapped in an environment to where you feel as though if I don't say something, it's kind of I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. So I'd rather be damned if I do, so I can live my life. Don't let somebody put you under a gun and under a foot. Let them announce the right way. You announce your presence by going to the authorities, and you turn them in. And if it's about money, you can get money, you can make money, but you can't get another life. You can't get your conscience. You can't get, your soul needs to be free of that type of bondage. Get off the internet, get off the cell phones, the music, and all that other stuff, because your kids are being raped because of the acquaintance and the familiarity of the music and what's in there, and the distortion and the deception and the captivity that happens in the mind. So if you don't do that, doesn't matter how gifted and anointed and saved you may be. But you've got to understand that at this point in your life, that if you don't do this, that we're going to continue. We are going to continue to be locked in and locked out, and not without a way to get these things out of our homes, out of our lives, so we can really understand and be aware, understand on dates and be independent, be aware of alcohol and drugs, and if things start to get out of hand, leave. Put up a protest loudly. This is what I'm not going to do. Make a phone call to someone. Make sure that the things that you do when you're going out with someone, or you are connected to someone, don't feel like you have to go alone, or that you are alone. Go on group dates, go out and meet with friends, with people that are around. Identify your surroundings. You've got to identify on social media as well, because those spirits come in. Play games if you want to. Play date games and married games and engage games and those types of things. Engage in the sex and the male and the female and the figures engaging in sex and vacuums and all that kind of stuff. That's prostitution. And if you're paying for it, and you're a pastor and you have a church and your members are playing into that, don't do it. Let him find his vexes for himself. Let him use this the right way and be able to come in and engage responsibly But understand that when you hear us and you begin to understand and you begin to mesh things as they should, as God would thread us together as saints, you have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt who you are. Don't let somebody tell you, well, we can engage in sex without touching. So if you engage in sex without touching, you've still sinned. Because if you're a married man and you're on the internet and you engage in sex without touching, it's still adultery. If you're a single woman, don't engage in it. It's sin. Don't say just because don't nobody know. Oh, God knows. God knows. Don't think that because if nobody sees it, won't nobody know. And man, you won't even, man, if you got a bisexual spirit, you ain't got to worry about it because you can engage in it, man. You can go ahead. You ain't never had to say that you was with somebody, but you were. So you got your homosexual tendencies taken care of without touching someone or them physically being here. These are the things that are being used. And I'm thankful for those that informed me even more today of the truth of what was going on and that I was a victim of what had taken place. Facebook has to shut it down because the prostitution ring is being ran through Facebook. Ask your neighbor. They know. Nobody wants to say anything. So just avoid falling in love and falling for those lines. And, well, if you loved me. Well, you know what? If you loved me, you wouldn't hurt me. That's the question. That's what you need to say. It's not a question. That's direct. So understand that if you've been raped by an acquaintance, that being assaulted by someone that you know is just as scary as being assaulted by someone you don't know. It might take you a while to recognize what has happened. It might take you a while to recognize that what happened to you is a sexual assault or a rape. So you've got to identify with those issues, and that even after you identify with what has happened to you, you've got to then, you still might have doubts in the identifying, in the identity of the person that will be saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost, and is the pastor, she's the pastor, and this is what's happened to me. You might feel ashamed and so many different things that might be just totally, that you're trying to process. But in the interim, what begins to happen is that you are not sure yourself. And so when we begin to work this model, we understand that you may think that at some point that you gave consent, or that you sent mixed signals, or that in some way, shape, or form, that it was your fault. But you need to remember that what has happened to you is not your fault. You didn't consent to it. And so there's some special concerns, some areas that you might have, and you may see the assailant again. You may, and you might not be sure. Should you report the assault to the police? And people may not believe you, and you may doubt the ability to trust people because of what has happened by an association or rape with an acquaintance, and that you may also experience the feelings that survivors of non-acquaintance rape experiences, and feelings of shame and fear and disbelief that this really happened to me. So the action that you should take should be the same as any rape or sexual assault. Find a friend and somebody to talk to, go to the emergency room, call a rape crisis line, and call the police. And that's for real. Okay? So, and if you know that if a friend has been assaulted, when friends or loved ones have been assaulted by a stranger or an acquaintance, know that they'll be coming to you for support, because they know that you've been there, that you've done that, and that you survived it, and that you came through it. And in the process of you coming through that you can have a caring attitude, and that someone can listen to them, you'll be an ear. And if the assault, if it just happened, encourage your friend or that loved one to seek some help through law enforcement or a local crisis line or the emergency room. If the assault is a part of your if the assault, if it is part of your friend or your loved one's past, you've got to listen to them. And if they haven't received counseling about it, mention to them that they might want to consider it. Because see, we get raped in our minds. We get raped via TV. We get raped via social media and things of that nature. So you've got to be able to identify what it was, what happened, someone you knew, you're talking to them on the telephone all the time, and things begin to happen, but you also know that there's something else going on, and you need to identify it and turn it in. Take the following points into account: that listen to them and offer the support. Believe your friend. It's not a figment of their imagination and they're not being delusional. Let them know what has happened and it's not their fault because you didn't consent to it. It's just around. Put aside your feelings and deal with them elsewhere. Respect their privacy. Accept their choice and solution of the assault. Be dependable and attainable when they need you. And then be patient with them because they might not be able to, they just might not be able to deal with it out of fear and out of shame. So understand your rights. Know that, I've been assaulted and what are my rights? And first of all, you have a right to decide whether you'll get medical treatment or whether psychological treatment, whether you're reported to the authorities or not. Bondage will cause you not to report it, and fear will keep you in it. That something else will happen, that they will retaliate against you. If you decide to report the assault to the authorities, you have the right to be treated and respected by anyone handling your sexual assault. Be interviewed by a female police officer, and if you don't feel comfortable, then talk to a male officer. Some women, and oddly enough, that have been assaulted, they don't want to talk to another woman. They'll talk to the man first, and that's just a part of the psychological makeup of what happens. And as Christians, we figure, well, I'm going to take this to God, and God's going to work it out. Don't be stuck on stupid. We're saved and sanctified, but he didn't say be dummies. We're not to be doormats, okay? As Christians, we're not doormats, and you don't get a chance to keep walking, just to keep walking on me. Understand? So, and report the crime and not. You've got to know, report the crime and not prosecute it, okay? Responsible prosecution is by the law. If you try to go and shoot somebody and you try to go, I'm going to handle it myself or my friends will, that's the worst thing to do. Okay, let the law handle it. Report it. Because 9 times out of 10, there's been more people that have reported it. And they just needed the accumulation so they can establish a case. Okay? Withdraw your testimony against the attacker at any time. You have a right. You have a right to withdraw your testimony against the attacker at any time, but you better know they're still going to get them because that's out of fear and they understand that. If you decide to seek medical assistance, you have a right to request that a female physician or that your personal physician examine you. You have a right to refuse any collection of medical evidence, and I wouldn't. Okay, because and even in social media and rapes via Skype and on the phone and sex talk and TV, all kind of things are going on now. And so websites and things of that nature. So you have a right to consult a psychologist or someone you trust. If you're a Christian, there's Christian psychologists, there's Christian counselors that are here for you, that are available to help you, that you can go to. So they'll understand what is going on because spiritually we're attacked. Spiritually we're afraid. Spiritually we can't even process what the heck is going on because we don't want to be embarrassed or we don't want it to come across the pulpit. And now we feel even worse than we were when we divulge the information. So it shouldn't be, there are a lot of sexual predators that are in our congregations that are being mishandled, their programs are misrepresented. And so everybody begins to brush it under the carpet. Oh, we got it. It's all right. No, you don't have it because you all look like addicts and you all look like registered sex offenders. Don't get digitized. Doesn't work. Doesn't wear well on you. So understand that you have a right to be accompanied by someone. You have a right to request that the physician examine all possible areas of bodily injury, including your mind. Including your mind, your heart, your soul. Get to where there's a soul caregiver, not just a social worker or a chaplain, someone who identifies with being a soul caregiver to help you take care of what's happening to your soul. Because now it's not so much the physical, it's what's going on inside of me. My spirit man is messed up. So I got to figure out what to do now. So now you have a right to change your mind about any treatment or refuse any. And 9 times out of 10, this is what happens to us, is that we forget that we're human, and that we forget that we have a right to live, we have a right to survive, and we don't have to be in chaos. We don't have to be in chaos or live around it. You have a right to refuse. You have a right to say no. But if you're in an environment to where you don't even know what to do, how to change it, how to shut it down, then you become a victim of circumstances of the atmosphere. So, and you have a right to exclude any law enforcement or, in the examining rooms and things of that nature. But things that you can do to prevent the assault is ask the management of restaurants and businesses to remove materials that are depicting women as sexual objects. Do not patronize a restaurant that exclusively hires women based on physical characteristics. Discourage friends from eating at or doing business in such places. Report catcalling men at workplaces and to the management. Pay attention to the words you use in reference to women. Pull friends and associates aside and correct them in their usages. Now, we all know that I let folks know I'm a trampologist. Been there, done it, know it. And so I will let you know. There's no hidden agenda with me. I'll always let you know how I feel. So anything appropriate that you think that I may say, I'm going to reference you as to who you are and what you are displaying and what your behavior looks like. So there's never any secret about how I'll ever feel about you as a woman. I'll always let you know. Reflect on your own behavior and work on changing any sexist or controlling abusive behaviors of your own. Most men that are acquaintance rapists, most women that are acquaintance rapists tend to go along with the men, and the women are drawn in, so they help the men do it. However it is you want to do it, virtually, there are no, if you want, there are no reasons for that to happen. You have holographic vaginas and all that kind of stuff that are going on. And so all this illicit sex and things that are happening, it's promoting the sex offenders it's at an all-time high right now with molestations and children being molested. And it starts in their mind, what they see, what they do. So it's working through your children. When you lose it, that your children begin. So you need to understand what that looks like. And in the process of that, show yourself, show who you are, that you're not gonna be bullied by a rapist on or offline. You don't have to. Women, you need to respect each other and stick up for other women. Don't go along to get along or because some money's there for you. And you're saved too. Now, somebody unsaved, I expect that all day long. All day all day. I expect that. But it still have some oomph about yourself. Men, ask women how would they like to help to prevent the sexual assault. But it's kind of hard if you're involved in it. Get your money back. So understand this, that when you begin to take all these steps and it begins to demonstrate to others that a sexually charged atmosphere in the wrong context is damaging to men and to women alike. The challenge is, think of one way that you can help prevent sexual assault, acquaintance rape, non-acquaintance rapes, and acquaintance rapes. Challenge yourself how you can turn them in. But if that's your paycheck, then I guess you won't. Use us right, is all I can say. Get your formation together on what you need to do. And when you see us, acknowledge us at all times. Amen. Salute. This is Apostle Dr. Vercher. I love everybody. I love you, but I think today was appropriate. I didn't get all dolled up for you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But today I'm going to go ahead and close my window on you. Love you. Bye-bye.